I have learned, and again, and through losses throughout my life, Summer, that 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 death and dying are a part of life. They're a part of living. You know, people that we love and care about pass on. Now, I happen to be spiritual and believe that one of these days I will see my mom and dad and my daughter who passed away a few years ago. Uh, and so again, what gives me fulfillment and keeps me going on is understanding that despite or in the face of these losses, we still have to get up and put one foot in front of the other every day and keep going. And part of what keeps me going again, Summer, is the fact that there are issues that people need help with, that they're dealing with on a daily basis, and I try to be more sensitive. And again, through my experiences, God has given me the ability to be empathetic and put myself into the other person's shoes in helping those folks deal with their losses and issues.
Hey, Summer Owens, and I'm back with another edition of So What Success Stories. Today, I have the honor and the privilege to be speaking with my friend, Robert Butch Childers, Judge Robert Butch Childers, a retired judge. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. He is a retired circuit court judge, but he also now has a private mediation and arbitration practice. But I'm super excited to be talking to Butch. I call him Butch. I have the honor and the privilege to be able to just call him Butch. I'm super excited to be talking to Butch because he is just a wonderful person, a wealth of knowledge, and so much fun. So much fun. So Butch, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Summer, I'm gonna give a quick explanation about my nickname Butch.
Okay, I would
Uh,
love that.
well, my mother gave that to me as a very small child. I don't even remember it, of course. The issue was she had several relatives in her family, nephews and brothers-in-law and that sort of thing, named Robert, and most of them, of course, were known as Bob or Bobby. And so she wanted to name me Robert, but she wanted me to be a little different. And so she gave me the nickname Butch rather than Bob or Bobby. Little did she know, she probably didn't have to give me that nickname to make me different, because I sort of grew up on my own, and we'll talk about that a little bit during the course of our session. But so that's the only name I've ever known. I never really liked Robert. My name is Robert Lawson, and when I was growing up, I used to say I'm going to grow up to be a robber and a lawyer. And so, guess what? Part of that came true. And then some of my clients probably thought that both of those were true. I was a robber and a lawyer. So in any event, that's the story of all my friends call me Butch. And so, and a lot of the lawyers call me Judge Butch after I got elected to the Circuit Court bench in 1984. Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, very quickly, I was born and raised in the southeast part of Shelby County, out on Highway 78, Lamar Avenue, and Shelby Drive, a little unincorporated area called Capelville. And so it was about literally 2 or 3 miles from the Mississippi state line. If you go down Highway 78, you go down to Olive Branch and all the way to Tupelo, Mississippi, and all the way to Birmingham, Alabama. And so I was born and raised in Capelville. I went to Capelville Elementary School there in Capelville, and then to the 8th grade. And then I went to Oak Haven High School, which was out on the east side of the airport. my brothers and sisters, my older brother and sister went to Whitehaven on the west side of the airport. And by the time I started high school, they had built a new school at Oak Haven. So I went to Oak Haven High School, graduated from there. I started college actually at the University of Tennessee at Martin. And I was there for a quarter and part of another quarter, and my mom passed away. This was in the fall of 1966. And so I came back to Memphis and helped my dad run a business, and started to then Memphis State, and did all of the rest of my undergraduate work at Memphis State, and graduated in the summer of 1971 because I was a couple of hours short, because Martin was on the quarter system at the time and Memphis State was on the semester system. So my last summer in high school, in college, I took 4 freshman courses, the only 4-point average I had the whole time I was in school summer, because I had freshman English, history, science, and math. And so I went straight into law school at Memphis State in the fall of 1971. Graduated in 1974. I worked for a political candidate, a lawyer who was running for Congress in a 19-county district that ran from East Shelby County all the way up to around Nashville, from the Kentucky state line down to the Alabama and Mississippi state lines. And so I then took the bar exam in February of 1975 and passed, and started practicing law in April of 1975.
Oh, wow. What a story. And I'm glad you mentioned Memphis State. And that is our connection. I had the honor and the privilege. I keep saying honor and privilege because that is exactly how I feel knowing you, Butch, of meeting you when I joined the board of for the National Alumni Association Board of Directors, and you were the past president, and a great president. And that's when I got to know just how fun you were. So yeah, you're a lawyer or a judge, and super serious, and have to be. And I know you dealt with a lot of challenging situations, which I'm sure you'll share. But it's so cool to me how fun and laid back you were when I got to meet you and really got to know you. Specifically thinking about the Elvis impersonation you did.
Well, let me just say a word about that, Summer, because it's important to me. There's an old saying about taking our jobs seriously, but not taking ourselves too seriously, and that certainly applies to lawyers and to judges. And when I got elected, I promised myself that I was not going to stop having fun, because that's a serious position. That's serious work, of course, because you're dealing with people's property and children and lives. And it's serious business, but there's a time to have some levity even in the courtroom. And so, yeah, I was on my off the bench time, in my moonlighting, I did a little Elvis. They used to call it impersonation. That's not the PC term anymore, Summer. It's Elvis tribute artist is what I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was among the cast of thousands of Elvis tribute artists after Elvis passed away. I'll tell you a very quick story. My older sister was married to one of the Memphis Mafia when I was in high school. And so I used to go up to Graceland, and I went to the Memphian Theater in Midtown when Elvis was in town. He would rent out the theater after midnight on the weekends, and he'd invite a lot of friends to the Memphian Theater and watch movies that he wanted to watch. And so I had a little personal connection to Elvis, and I always was a big fan of his as an entertainer. And so I fortunately or unfortunately, I played in a rock and roll band the last few years in undergraduate school at Memphis State, and then my first year in law school, and was able to sing a little bit. And people said I sounded like Elvis, so I started getting calls from people for weddings and other things to dress up in my red jumpsuit and sing a little Elvis.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I did not know that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love everything that you just said. And I think all that is so important to remember about having fun and being yourself and still having a personality, and letting your personality show no matter what you do. And you do a great job of that. So in this program, I have what I call the So What Success System. And that's learning how to be successful in spite of any obstacles that you might face. And, and in order to do that, you have to learn how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, calculate choices. And with that, you have so what success. And so, Butch, I want to talk to you about those things. Talk to me a little bit about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome to get to where you are today.
Well, briefly, I grew up in sort of a rural area at the time. It's not so rural anymore. When I was born, the Memphis city limits was probably 12 miles or so from Capeville. And now Capable is within the city limits. In fact, the Memphis city limits go all the way to the Mississippi state line now. And so we were in a rural area. We weren't what I would call poor, but we weren't rich by any means. And so I grew up basically on a farm, milking the cows, slapping the pigs, baling hay. I was a farm boy, and learn the value of hard work and learn the necessity of hard work, Summer. And so, I had the benefit of growing up like that, where we didn't have a lot of money. I went to work in my first paying job at the age of 14, working in a hardware store in Capable. And so I worked untold odd jobs. I can't even count on my fingers and toes the number of part-time jobs I held in high school, then in undergraduate school, and then in college. I worked my way through undergraduate school to law school. And so, those kinds of financial hardships, and also sort of, I guess you'd say, physical or emotional hardships, Summer. I grew up in sort of a dysfunctional family. My dad had a drinking problem, and so there were struggles within the family because of those issues. Um, Actually, as I look back on it, it was God preparing me for a life of service, because as I grew older, the things that I spent most of my adult life on as a lawyer and then as a judge for 33 years was in lawyer assistance program work, helping lawyers with struggles with those kinds of issues, alcohol and drug and mental issues, that sort of thing, but also with working in the area of combating domestic violence. And so, as I like to say, God has a sense of humor.
Mm.
He prepared me in my upbringing, in my early childhood, uh, for those experiences where literally I could help other people who are struggling with those issues. And so
Yeah.
that's part of the hardship that I grew up in and with, that again made me who I am.
And I love it. I love it. And I totally agree. It's things that don't seem ideal or good while you're dealing with them, and then how you can grow and realize the impact that it has, and it makes you more effective at what you're doing because you get it. You understand because you've lived it.
Exactly. The old saying, been there and done that.
Yep. And you actually understand. It's just something about that you're not just talking about it. You're not you know it. You felt it. I also like how you said you had the benefit of growing up the way that you did. The benefit. So as a farm, I'm a country girl myself, but I didn't milk the cows. I didn't have to do all of that. But my family had farms, and I had a cow. And I did grow up in a rural area. Bolivar, Tennessee is where I originally am from. And I appreciate, like you said, I feel like it was a benefit of growing up the way that I did and appreciating the simple things, and even growing up in a more poverty-stricken area too, made me who I am. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I really appreciate you sharing about your father, and even the fact that you lost your mother, because I'm sure that that was a part, because you lost your mother young, right? So that had to be another part of the challenge.
Well, I did lose my mother young, and I'll share another personal insight. My mother took her own life, and that was partially from the dysfunction in the family. My parents had divorced, and that sort of thing. And so, for those who might be listening who have had loved ones who have had who have had those experiences with suicide and taking their own lives, uh, it leaves a trail of sadness and guilt. I had to deal with a lot of guilt about I should have seen, or I should have known, or I should have done something to prevent that. And so that's one of the things that I've enjoyed working with the Lawyer's Assistance Program, and with dealing with mental health issues, depression, and certainly in the legal profession, there's lots and lots of stress. We all have to deal with stress. This pandemic, the last year and a half, has all taught us a lot about dealing with stress and about being resilient in the face of stressful situations. But again, that was a part of the hardship that I had to overcome, the struggles that I had to overcome, because I had several tragedies growing up. My oldest brother got killed in a car accident in 1958 when I was 10 years old, before my mom then passed away 7 years later. So again, I don't talk about those things for folks to feel sorry or pity me. Again, I've turned it into a strength in my life, and again, in the ability to help others, and that's what really gives me fulfillment and satisfaction in my life at my age now, where I'm able to help younger folks, other folks with these struggles, and pass on what the gifts that God has given me.
Wow, Butch. Wow. So that the next part of a success system is about eliminating excuses. And so you have dealt with, I had no idea um, the magnitude of some of the things that you've dealt with. You are somebody who could have made excuses, right? You are a super successful judge, well respected judge, and you've been awesome. You've been amazing. You've done great things in your life, but you have gone through things that for many people take them out, right? That make them give up. But you've been able to move forward. Tell me about some of the excuses that you've had to eliminate, and how you've been able to just press forward, even going through some of the toughest things that you just described.
Well, I have learned, and again, and through losses throughout my life, Summer, that 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 death and dying are a part of life. They're a part of living. People that we love and care about pass on. Now, I happen to be spiritual, and believe that one of these days I will see my mom and dad, and my daughter, who passed away a few years ago. Uh, and so, again, what gives me fulfillment and keeps me going on is understanding that despite, or in the face of these losses, we still have to get up and put one foot in front of the other every day and keep going. And part of what keeps me going, again, Summer, is the fact that there are issues that people need help with, that they're dealing with on a daily basis, and I try to be more sensitive. And again, through my experiences, God has given me the ability to be empathetic, and put myself into the other person's shoes, in helping those folks deal with their losses and issues. And so that's sort of what I've learned, is we have to go on. You can give up, and some people do, and I understand that. But again, I have a great spiritual faith and believe that everything happens for a reason. We may not understand the reason. In fact, often I don't understand the reason, but I really think that God has a plan for all of us. And I just sort of ask him to tell me what my part is today, please.
Right.
And I try my best to do my part.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. And I'm with you. Sometimes we don't understand, and sometimes we understand much later, right? We get the clarity much later in life, which we didn't talk about it before, but I'm sure part of what has helped you, and maybe even why you do it is the mindfulness teaching. Can you talk about a little bit about the teaching that you do on mindfulness and how you got into that?
Yeah, I was on the American Bar Association Commission on Lawyers Assistance Program from 2000 until I eventually rolled off in 2011, 2012. The last 4 years, I was chair of the commission. And so it was about 2007, the first year I was chair of the CoLAP commission, we call it. I learned about mindfulness. And I learned that this mindfulness process issue has been going on in the corporate world for probably in 2007, probably since the mid 1990s, for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. It had just recently sort of come to the legal profession. And so I learned about it and studied and became educated and started practicing mindfulness. And meditation is a big part of mindfulness and learning how to meditate and to clear my mind. And so I started using it on the bench, Summer, and it helped me with my work. The meditation part of mindfulness helped me to be more focused and to be more attentive on the bench, so I could more pay more attention to cases, and that gave me the ability to be more efficient in my time, where my mind was clearer. I could listen to the evidence and listen to the testimony and make a decision uh, more quickly than without the meditation and the mindfulness piece. And so it helped me, and I started teaching. I guess as a lawyer, of course, we are teachers, and as judges, certainly we are teaching the jury and the lawyers. And the legal profession really is all about teaching.
Sure, sure.
We have different audiences, but it's all about teaching. As a lawyer, I was trying to teach the judge
Sure,
my
sure.
case. And so I started teaching mindfulness, and it was amazing to me when I dealt with groups of sometimes 25 lawyers. I've had groups as large as 125 lawyers that I've presented to. And I always do a little meditation, a little 5-minute meditation session as a part of my presentation. And at the end of the meditation session, and I say, this ends the meditation session, and people are like, no, wait, I don't want it to stop yet. I want to continue this feeling, and that's sort of what it's like. And so I found that lawyers and judges are hungry for this kind of information, and to be able to use it to improve themselves and make them better professionals, and of course, more importantly, make them better people, more understanding, more mindful, more empathic, empathetic, whatever the word is, in dealing with people. And Lord knows we need more of that these days and not less, because of the political division, the racial strife, and all of the issues these days that we're having to deal with.
Absolutely. I had the privilege of enjoying that series that you did for University of Memphis. And I was one of those people like, wait a minute, I want more. It was good. And it is so important. Because we all are more stressed probably than we've ever been in our lives. So I kudos to you for doing that. And I know it has to have been a saving grace for you and the things that you have gone through and the things that you've experienced. It makes you, I can see it making you a much better judge because of doing that practice, and also because of things that you've gone through. So the third element of the So What success system is calculating choices. So you've had a long career, a great career. You're happily retired, semi-retired, I guess is probably how you would describe it.
Yes, yes.
uh, but what are some of the choices that you've had to calculate along the way?
So it's really strange because I have thought about that a lot since on my journey in life. And I look back in particularly in my undergraduate school days and law school days, and I look back on it, and it's almost like I was in a fog, in a haze, and it was like somebody was guiding me through all of that because I could not have set out in high school, certainly when I ultimately thought about and made the decision that I wanted to go to law school and be a lawyer, because my best friend, who is a lawyer, had talked about going to law school. And so I said, well, that sounds interesting. Quick aside, until I was a sophomore in high school, I wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Oh, really?
Because I ate, slept, and breathed baseball. I was a decent baseball player, but I injured my hand in the tryouts in the 10th grade for the varsity team, and I didn't make the varsity team. So I decided at that point mentally, well, maybe professional baseball is not in my future after all. And that's when I decided, after talking with my friend Charlie, about, maybe I might want to go to law school. Well, back in the day when I was in undergraduate school, people changed their majors at least once, sometimes more than once, before they settled on a major study in college. And so somehow I made it through undergraduate school and then made it through law school. But again, as I look back, there's no way I could have intentionally set out this goal and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm then going to become a judge. It's sort of just, again, I really and truly feel like it was God leading me, pushing me, toward the path that I was supposed to be on. And so for me personally, it wasn't so much a question of calculation. My calculation was this, and this is what I can pass on to others, is I learned, again, through my growing up on the farm, I learned that whatever I wanted to do was going to require a lot of hard work and determination. I passed this on to my daughter, who has now passed away. And I told her, you can do anything you want to once you set your mind to it and you're willing to do the work to achieve it. Mm-hmm. And so that's the calculation. The only calculation that I've made in my life is that I have to work hard to make a living. But you know what? Along the way, I learned, thank God, like the Winston Churchill once said, you make a living by what you do. You make a life by what you do for others, by what you give. And so I've also heard the saying, Summer, I sort of live by the passage from St. Luke that says essentially, to whom much has been given, much is required. I've also heard the saying that I use frequently, and that is, service is the rent we pay for occupying our place on this earth. And so, again, I've been blessed beyond my wildest dreams. And again, it wasn't necessarily through my calculation.
Yeah.
It was more on God's calculation. So I have a lot of faith in that. But I also, again, the calculation part for me was knowing I'm going to have to work really hard if I want to achieve what I want to achieve. And my wanting to achieve was to become a lawyer, and I did. I then started looking, because I was asked to sit as a special judge some when I was still a lawyer. People liked the way I judge things. I've got the kind of personality where I see both sides of the issue. I'm even tempered. I pay attention. to the evidence and the testimony, and I rule, this is what I did for 33 years as a judge. I rule based on the facts and the law in every case, regardless of who's involved or what's involved. You call it like you see it. It's sort of like an umpire. You call the balls and strikes. And if they don't like the decision, they can take it up to the next level of the appellate court.
I love it. I love it, Butch. And you know what? I feel the same way about my journey too. Is that simple as you just said it, that God had my path, and I just had to be willing to put in the work. And I see that in you, and I see all the attributes you just described, being even tempered and fair, and I love it. And it's also all things that I really, really admire about you, and your story. I'm just kind of blown away right now because I've learned so much about you in this little bit of time. So the So What Success system is learning how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices. And I believe that anybody who can do those things, and you are proof of that too, anybody who can do those things can achieve So What Success, and that's success in spite of any obstacles they face. But Butch, what is your personal definition of success? How do you see success?
My personal definition of success, and this is what I do most every night when my head hits the pillow. I look back on the day's events, Summer, and ask the question, have I done the best I can today? And as long as I can answer myself honestly that I've done the very best I can today. Did I make mistakes? Of course I made mistakes, because I'm human. Even as a judge, people look at judges up on a lofty perch on the bench, but judges are human too. We all make mistakes. That's why they are still putting erasers on the end of pencils, because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. But I finally learned that I can't do anything perfectly. I was always striving for perfection, and that can be very stressful on us. Because nobody's perfect, but I sure gave it the college try and trying to do everything perfectly. And I finally realized that doing the best we can is all we can do as human beings. And so again, I work hard, even though with most of the things I'm doing these days, I do things I enjoy and love. That's what I loved about being a lawyer, and I loved even more about being a judge. I grew up with my elders telling me, if you do something you love for your work's life, for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm a testament to that. Is that, and again, I think it comes out, as you have said, through my demeanor and my personality, because I'm an optimistic person, and I'm basically, for the most part, a happy person. Nobody's happy 24/7. We all have our struggles, but that's all a part of learning. I find that when I'm under the most stress and in the most pain, that's the times of the greatest opportunity for me to learn about me. Most of the time it's learning about me and who I am and why I do the things I do. And so I just try to live my life and be of service to others. So I'm an example to others. The old movie about paying it forward. And that's sort of, again, what I try to do is to pay it forward. And so my goal is to say honestly that I've done the best I can every day, despite making mistakes along the way. When I make a mistake, I try to make amends to people and say, look, I'm sorry, I screwed that one up. I'll try not to make that mistake again. But we all make mistakes. And so I find that lawyers were amazed if I said something improper or got onto a lawyer on a busy Friday morning, for example. I would go get off the bench in the afternoon and call them up and say, look, and this was young lawyers and more experienced lawyers. Call up and say, look, I'm sorry. It was a busy morning. That's no excuse. And I went off on you and I shouldn't have, and I apologize. And it was amazing to me, the reactions, not only the young lawyers, but the older lawyers saying, Judge, Thank you. I've never had a judge to call me and apologize for anything.
I bet.
So, so it's just that's my goal, and I try my best every day to see if I've met the goal for the day, and that's all we can do is one day at a time, Summer.
I think that's admirable of you. I love it. I respect and admire it so much. And Judge and Butch, in my role as president of Alumni Association, I just have to tell you that you were that to me. You were always encouraging, optimistic, and fair. And I could see you looking at both sides, and I could see you being supportive. I could see you being empathetic. All those things. You were to me, and I can't thank you enough, because you were an example too. You said you try to be an example. You were an example for me when you were president, and then just being who you are, even as past president, still being an example. And I thank you and I applaud you for that. So I have one last question, and that's still around success. What about somebody who's watching this right now? Because I know you have a lot of people are going to be really, really touched and blessed by the things that you've said and the things that you've shared. But somebody is maybe struggling with being successful, however they define success. What advice would you give to them?
Well, this may sound trite or very elementary, but success to me is not extrinsic. It's not the material things. It's not the money. It's not the fine car or the big house. The success to me is more intrinsic. It's more inside of me. Again, it goes back to the golden rule, Summer. I treat other people the way I want them to treat me. Now, do they always do that? No, of course not. But I try to live the golden rule. Heather, I've done it again. Summer, I want to finish out Summer and tell you what a great fan of you I am. I'm just amazed and in awe at your young age, how well you've done and what a great role model you are. You were a fantastic president of the Alumni Association, and you did a wonderful job. But you are just a great role model, and I really appreciate the work that you do with So What.
Thank you so much, Butch. That means everything to me. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you in person again soon.
Great. Thanks so much for your time. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Butch. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.